Are you looking to make extra money in 2025 from home? In my opinion, eBay is probably the simplest way to do it from home still in 2025. My name is Jamie. Welcome to the channel Thrift-Onfire. I've had a YouTube channel here for about 5 years, selling on platforms like eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, Depop, you name it. Today we're going to talk about eBay, the things you need to know to get started. This is more or less a guide for new sellers. If you know some OGs for the channel want to stick around and correct my mistakes, I would appreciate that as well. But yeah, let's jump into this video. Now, step one is obviously just getting the account, okay? It doesn't matter if you want to sell on ebay.ca or ebay.com. Essentially, your login will work for both. So if you want to switch between the other, you just log in with the same username and password, and you can do that. The other things that are important when you're signing up is you're going to need some sort of payment information, whether that be a credit card or a bank account. You're going to want to be able to buy things. You're going to want to be able to collect money from people. So the bank account is going to be very important. The other thing is you need to have an accurate address on file, especially if you're going to use calculated shipping down the road. You need to have your address correct. So if eBay's calculating shipping prices for somebody, it's based off of your location. Those are very, very important things. The other thing that I just might want to touch on is when you are creating an account, I'd be mindful of your username, only because maybe in the future, if you decide to do a store, you might want it to be, go hand in hand with the name you've already been using, so it's not confusing. So something maybe memorable or unique to you might be a good option to start. So you got your account all set up, you're excited to sell, but you have no idea where to start. Well, look around your house for things that you're no longer using. A lot of people might have things like this, like old video games that are just sitting around collecting dust. Most Nintendo stuff, and especially Mario or Mario Kart stuff, is going to do very, very well. You'd be surprised on how fast you could sell that, even as a new seller. You might have stuff like this kicking around. This is just a Funko Pop. Maybe you've got a bunch of these and you've either outgrown them or don't care about them anymore. Funko Pops still do sell well. Or maybe you want to get into clothing. This is just a stadium giveaway shirt from the Toronto Blue Jays from a few years ago. Typically, you're going to look for brands. This is a limited number shirt, so it will still sell well, but brands and stuff are going to be very important, which is where you're going to look up stuff, right? So if we just go back to this video game here, all you would do in eBay is you would type in what it is. So it's Mario Kart for Nintendo Wii. You're going to go over to the filter. So this is if you're using the app on your phone. Okay, you're going to go to search. You're going to go sold and complete. It'll show you all the Mario Karts when you search under sold and complete that have sold. So you have a good idea of how much to price your item for. Now that we found some items from around our house, we need to take photos of them. So we want a picture of the front of this, the back of this. Typically, there's no disc in this particular one. Typically, you would open it up so somebody could see there's a manual. In this case, there's no disc. And then potentially you might take a fourth picture of a disc. You want at least probably 4 pictures. And you're going to take these pictures just flat on a table in natural light. When it comes to something like this Funko Pop, it's a little bit more complicated only because you want a picture of each of the 4 sides. I would also take a picture of the top and the bottom. There's a little ding right there. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but as somebody who's a collector, that might be a huge deal and a deal breaker. So you want to basically show that in a photo. Some people would even circle it, on your screen so someone could see it. Like you could use either Canva or you could go into Instagram and just use one of the, just like right on the screen or on your phone, whatever. And then, put it back into your listing. Also in the description, you want to say what's up with it as well. A t-shirt like this, you would want to do front and back for sure in natural light. I like to do flat lace on the floor. You can get mannequins and get fancy, but if you're just starting, flat lace, you'll really enjoy them because they're simple. You're just going to lay it flat on the floor, like I said, front and back. I would take a picture of the tag. I would get a ruler as well and measure across the chest and total length and put that in the photos or at least in the listing because people will ask those questions for sure. It's super important. And like I said, if you don't have photography lights and all that, natural lighting is absolutely fine. So if you got a couple big windows, get in front of some big windows. If you have a really well-lit area, use that. You want the colors to be as true as they possibly can in the photo. Shipping is going to be a whole nother story. A lot of people on the US side, I'm obviously Canadian, if you're not aware. I would suggest not doing free shipping because you're going to absolutely lose your shirt. You would sell this video game over here, this Mario Kart, and you would lose all your money on shipping. So let's talk about shipping. Now, if you're just starting out, chances are you're going to use eBay labels, and it's probably the smartest and safest bet. You're going to get deep discounts if you're Canadian like me on Canada Post, UPS, and I think FedEx. On the US side, obviously, United States Postal Service, I think UPS as well, and probably a few other couriers, I'm assuming. You know, I don't typically buy a lot of labels on the .com side anymore. But the thing you want to do is you're going to find your item. So we're going to go back to the video game here. You're going to figure out what kind of packaging you would use to ship it. In this case, it's just an eBay bubble mailer. Okay, so we're going to slide in the bubble mailer. We're going to close it up. We're going to take some very simple measurements. So 9 inches by 7 inches by roughly half an inch. We could call it an inch, half an inch probably though. Or you could do it in centimeters, it's really up to you. Then you're gonna have to get a scale like this, okay? This is just a, it's just Accu-Tech or something I bought on Amazon I've had for a really long time. You're gonna weigh it and you're gonna put that weight in. And what happens there is now eBay is gonna calculate shipping to the buyer. So if somebody, if you're in Ontario like I am and somebody in Winnipeg is looking at this, it'll give them an estimate based off of your location, how much shipping is going to cost, okay? There's also, with something small like this, eBay also has something called Expedited Light, which, you know, it still might only cost like $7 to ship it. To the US, we have deeper discounts through Canada Post has a deal with United States Postal Services, and something like that might cost around $8, okay? Because I've been doing this for a while, I kind of know roughly how much things are going to cost. I'm willing to do a flat shipping rate, so I'll charge the same amount for all buyers based off of that. And, you know, I have some wins and losses with my shipping costs, but if you do calculated shipping, there will be no wins and losses. The person will be charged what it actually cost, and you should be covered. So now that we have a basic idea of what we're gonna sell on eBay, you know, maybe items from around the house, we know how to take photos of them now, we know how to set up a shipping charge that's gonna be pretty accurate. We wanna go back to those sold listings, okay? So if we go back to this video game here, we'll take it out of the packing here. We're gonna look it up. We're gonna look at the sold comps that actually, you know, have good titles. So you're basically looking for keywords, obviously like Mario Kart, Nintendo, Wii. You're gonna look for the ones that have sold, and you can either copy and paste those. You can sell similar. You can edit it and make it your own. You're also going to want to kind of look and see item specific. So when you do create a listing, there's a couple ways to do it. You can make a brand new listing, fill out everything yourself, or you can use a sell similar. And what it basically does is it takes that sold item, pops it open, and fills out as much as it possibly can. In that case, you do want to still look at the item specifics, and you want to just make sure that they're right. Maybe you can add more, maybe you can tweak their title, but this is obviously something that has sold in the past that you can use as a template to make your, to start a starting point, right? You can make this much better. You can keep it exactly the way it is. It's really just something to learn, okay? Titles are important. So if you have a poor title, you know, if it just says Mario Kart Wii, and that's all you put, I mean, those are the basic things that somebody might need to know. But if you had a t-shirt like this, and that might sell with just Mario Kart Wii, I'm not saying that it wouldn't, okay? But you have a shirt like this, and you just put a button-up shirt, pineapples. Nobody would know it's a stadium giveaway from the Toronto Blue Jays. You know, you might want to put the colors, you might want to put the year, you might want to put Lourdes Gurriel Jr., which is who's on there. All those things are going to help you sell the item. You know, if you just put, you know, button-up pineapple shirt, who knows? Who knows who's going to look for that or even find it? So you want to put all the things that are important to that. Same thing with the Funko Pop. You'll probably notice when you look at Funko Pops, you'll see lots of them, so it'll be easier to figure out. But when sold with Funko Pops, though, there are sort of variants. This one is a Funko exclusive. Sometimes they won't have a sticker. Sometimes they'll have a special sticker. So you really need to be careful and make sure the one that you have is the one that you're listing. You might look that up and say, hey, there's one that sold for $100, but it's not this one. It's a special edition one or something like that. So be mindful when you're doing your research just to make sure that you're selling things that are described well, have good specifics, that you're not going to get yourself in trouble with shipping. You know, even if the first few times you have to pack up the t-shirt just to figure out, you know, what you're going to pack it in, how much it's going to weigh, and all of that. It's way smarter than guessing and being sorry later. You know, the longer you do it, the more you're going to figure out those small things, and you know, it gets easier over time. Something to keep in mind when you do sell something on eBay and you're a first-time seller, they're probably going to hold your funds, so you are going to wind up paying for the shipping label out of pocket the first few times. You know, after a while, the money when you sell something just becomes available in your available funds. But at first, they do hold the money just to make sure that you're actually going to ship the items out, and you know that you're gonna do a good job as a seller, which I think is absolutely fair when you're first starting, because you know you could easily take advantage of this entire system. So you have to to prove yourself to be trustworthy, but after that, everything is fine. So it doesn't take that long, but just keep in mind that you will have to pay for those first few shipping labels out of pocket. And then, you've run out of stuff to sell around your house. Now what do you do? Okay, so you take the money that you've made from your sales on eBay and you're going to go invest them. You're going to look at yard sales, thrift stores, estate sales. Maybe you're going to look at Facebook Marketplace. Maybe you're going to go to your uncle or your aunt's house and ask if they've got some stuff that they want to sell, get rid of, and you could buy it cheap from them. It doesn't really matter how you obtain it, but you're going to want to use the same method. So when we found something like, we'll go back to the Funko Pop, or we could go back to the t-shirt, or we could go back to the video game, or whatever you want to go back to. But the same way that we figured out what this is worth is the same way you're going to figure out what things are worth when you're out. So if you see something that looks interesting to you, you're going to grab your phone, you're going to use eBay sold comps, you're just going to look them up. You're going to be like, hey, what was that video game worth again? Okay, it's worth $30. At the moment, I don't know what this game is worth. Let's say it's $30. Okay, so I could buy it right now for $5 and I could flip it, right? So if you could find it at a yard sale for $5 and you can make $30 online, it's a no-brainer. But if you don't use that tool and you just pick up things randomly and you come home and you realize, oh, some of this stuff, doesn't sell for a lot of money, and some of this stuff might not sell at all. You'll be very disappointed and you're going to wind up with a whole bunch of stuff. And when you're starting, I find people, including myself, do that. You just go and you pick up like, oh, cool, these graphic t-shirts are really awesome. Somebody's certainly going to want them. Maybe, but for like $8. So if you spend $5 at a thrift store and it's $8, you're probably losing money. So you need to check out your sold comps. It's very important for a couple of reasons. Like I said, to make sure what you're picking up is even valuable enough to sell, and that, it's actually selling for good money online. So that app in your hand or in your pocket, your eBay app, the sold comp tool, it's priceless when it comes to selling online. And, now I'm a little more confident. There are things I'll just pick up based off of knowledge, but when you're starting, you really want to comp just about everything. And you can actually get even more technical. There's something called sell-through rate. It's basically the amount listed versus the amount sold. It's something that once you get started, you're going to want to learn. I don't want to confuse people in this video, but it'll basically tell you how often this sells. And it's a good thing to learn in the future. Like I said, I'll maybe make a separate video about it, because it's not that it's super complicated. I just don't want to complicate this video. The most important thing here is that things actually do sell. So if you find a game like once again, Mario Kart, you want to know that it is selling and how much it's selling for, so that you know how much you could possibly pay for it. $5, probably a really good deal to sell it online. Hopefully that makes sense. A few bonus tips here. Do not sell restricted items, like handguns or certain liquids you can't sell online. If you fear that you might have a restricted item, definitely do a little research before you list it. Another piece of advice here might be avoid canceling items unless you absolutely have to for some reason. It is a negative ding on your account and you don't want to do that. And it is something that's in your control. So try your best not to do that if possible. And the other thing is obviously try to keep good feedback going. When you're first starting, you only have a handful of feedback. One negative will really, affect your feedback score. Other than that, I think it's pretty basic stuff. Yes, there are fees on eBay. I will just pop up on screen now the current fee for selling on eBay. I don't know right offhand what it is. It just is what it is, and it changes every so often. What else? Get yourself an eBay account, list on your eBay account, ship on your eBay account, get paid on your eBay account, and you'll have some extra money in 2025. Like I said, don't overthink it. There are some things you need to worry about, like bookkeeping. At some point when you get more serious about it, bookkeeping will be very important. It's just you're keeping records of like how much money you sold or spent on stuff, how much money stuff sold for, shipping, if you buy boxes, tape, all these things can be part of a business. But if you're just trying to start out, I wouldn't overthink all that stuff too much. You can keep records, even if you get a little journal and you write down every time you sold something. eBay will run reports for you and send them to you as well, showing you what sold and deductions and all those type of things. But for the most part, just start. That's the biggest biggest takeaway for this is just get an account, start. Don't overthink it. And, I think you'll have success in 2025. Now, I wish I could tell you, go to the store, pick up these items, and that's just it. There's this magic formula and it works every time. That's honestly not how it works. I sell all kinds of stuff. I sell clothing. There's clothing in these bins. You've seen behind me, I have video games and sports collectibles. I sell just about anything. There's shoes over here. whatever I can find to sell online is okay by me. Sure, do I enjoy selling video games and sports cars more than a women's blouse? Yes. But what's available to me isn't always what I can sell. If you want to niche down and just do one of those things, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you want to build your business, you just have to be able to source in a way that's going to make you successful. For me, it's dabbling in a little bit of everything is what has kept me successful. I've had ups, I've had medium rides, I've had lows, and you always have to sort of pivot and figure out a new way. Okay, if you guys like videos like this one, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. We'll see you guys soon.